Hi, Dima. Congratulations on winning Best Short Film. Choice leaves such a powerful impression and raises deeply challenging questions. We would love to ask you a few questions about your creative process and the film itself.
Hello, I'm very happy to win at your festival. It's very nice that you appreciated my work. I'll be happy to answer all of your questions.
Your film explores the idea of choosing a child's fate. How did the use of AI influence the development of this theme? Did it enhance the sense of a programmed life?
You have a philosophical question. Actually, it's simpler than that. I asked myself if I personally would want to know my child's fate, and if that were possible, what choice would I make, and how would it even happen? From this simple question, some thoughts just start forming in my head. If you think deeper, parents always want to control their children, like what sports they should do, which university they should attend, and so on and so forth. And I sort of exaggerated this a bit and wanted to give every viewer who watches this video a chance to see what they would choose. Because the question itself, I think, is already quite interesting. As a fan of the series Black Mirror, I just wanted to use artificial intelligence, since I'd already thought it all out, to realize this fictional world. So artificial intelligence really helped me create, well, everything you saw and appreciated. I'm basically very glad that such technologies exist now, that an ordinary guy can, without leaving his apartment, realize his idea. So that's really cool.
In all scenarios, the outcome is tragic. Is this a statement that algorithms are incapable of predicting happiness, or that the very idea of control is an illusion?
Rather, it's about the illusion of choice, that it's impossible to calculate everything, impossible to control everything, lots of nuances, lots of unforeseen events. But of course, the dramaturgy is also important here. Imagine if there were three good options, then, like, the statement wouldn't have worked and we wouldn't have shown this complexity, this maybe even unnecessary action that you have to choose a child's fate when you have the option not to choose. So this main part of the whole film, it was the key, so that later there would be a contrast and a choice for the viewer at the end of the film. So here, of course, besides the fact that they're all truly tragic, which is quite significant, they were written for the script because that's how it was intended overall, these three storylines.
The buttons with different life paths resemble a system interface. Would you say that the characters are confronting not fate but an algorithm?
Well, of course, it's the system they encounter, the algorithm. That is, if you look at it, option number one is the child suffers. Option number two is the parents suffer. Option number three is society suffers, and a small illusion appears. That this system analysis, the fourth button that appears later, that it might improve something or offer some other alternative option, not so bad, but the system and algorithms, it just analyzes the data, you know. And, well, in my concept, it reached this conclusion that it would be better for everyone if it's just as if this child never even existed. It's good for society, the child doesn't suffer their whole life, and the parents don't, let's say, end up in a bad way. So I guess that's it.
The film conveys emotions, fear, despair, confusion with very striking precision. How challenging was it to teach AI to express such states?
To be honest, it was quite difficult. Back then, there wasn't even Kling 3.0, not to mention Seydus 2 and the others. I mean, 80% of all the generations, they were probably deleted, thrown into the trash. There are some moments that just didn't work at all, but I found a solution. I filmed myself in close-up, the emotion that I needed. And then through motion control, I would transfer all of that to my characters. But for the effect of this whole atmosphere, a lot of work was also done with the music. I had about maybe 80 to 100 generations in Suno, and then each one, I then pieced everything together bit by bit to achieve the right emotion for every single moment. I have versions that are, say, dynamic, tragic, sad, active, calm, and so on and so forth. Tons and tons of iterations that were then just spliced together on the timeline. And well, it turned out the way it did, as you see it. So it was a difficult job from all sides in the sense that artificial intelligence is still, well, a bit stiff. But I'm very glad that I managed to convey this pain and convey this intensity of passion, these emotions, which are quite difficult to convey. Back then it was even harder because the technology was at a slightly lower level than it is now.
The film presents three models: choice, refusal to choose, and randomness, like the coin flip. In your view, where does AI stand among these? Closer to control or to chance?
You, like many commenters, gave an even better interpretation, a better idea of what I had in mind. But in my fictional world, I mean, there weren't three options, there were two, either a choice or no choice. And every couple in that little office, as shown at the end of the film, they made a choice. Either they go to choose or they go without a choice. So it's not a third option. In my head, it was the only option, that every couple flips a coin, and depending on chance, they either go to see the possible fates of their child, which could have been good. I just portrayed it that way in the film for dramatic effect, but overall, all three options could have been good. And what exactly I wanted there, whether it's a man or a woman, it kind of remains a mystery, whether they'd want to see it or not. It was a kind of hook at the end, to evoke more emotion in the viewer, like what would you choose? Probably like the key message of this film overall.
The characters try to find the right fate, but fail. Can this be interpreted as a commentary on the idea that even the most advanced technologies cannot guarantee a happy outcome?
Yes, exactly so. Technology can certainly help, give advice, solve something, but it doesn't give any guarantees. At some point, the human factor still remains, and it's impossible to calculate everything. So the global idea was that, after all, maybe it's better to live a quiet life, not knowing what tomorrow brings. Probably so.
Which parts of the process did you delegate to AI, and where did you maintain full control? Where do you draw the line between the author and the machine in your work?
I came up with the script entirely myself. I already had in my head a vision of how it should look, what kind of dystopian space it is, a dystopian building. So globally, everything was already thought out in my head. With ChatGPT, we refined some small nuances. It helped me with some locations, like when the child is here, the child is there, 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 there. It just helped me with brainstorming, so I'd give it a concept that I need. This kind of story, this kind of line, point A is this, point B is that, and help me with the content. And something there, maybe, probably something was useful, and I probably took something from there, 100%. But otherwise, of course, we worked in a team, both Nano Banana and Clink 2.6 and Hicksfield Cinema Studio. Of course, as I said, there were probably about 100 generations in Suno. I'm even afraid to imagine how many image generations there were, how many video generations. But it's some probably unthinkable amounts. And most of it, a huge part, was just deleted, thrown away because it wasn't right. But the most important thing here is some understanding, both from a camera and editing perspective, to already have some kind of storyboard in your head. And then all that's left is patience and correctly explaining to the artificial intelligence what you want from it. I think those who do this know perfectly well that it's such a slightly monotonous process, but when you get what you want, it's very cool and awesome.
In one version, the child becomes a criminal. In another, he's successful but dies. How important was it for you to show the morality and success are not necessarily tied to safety or happiness?
To be honest, I didn't think that deeply, didn't dig that far. I had 3 lines that I came up with: that the child suffers, version 1. In version 2, the parents suffer. In version 3, society suffers. And to achieve the desired result, I, of course, wrote every single line to fit the plot, so that later, for the dramaturgy, it was justified and I achieved the goals I wanted, just as I intended. I hope it worked out.
The film makes the audience question, would we even want access to such a choice? What is your personal answer to that question?
Actually, this is the coolest thing that came out of it. I'm very glad the viewer asked this question. That was the goal I wanted to achieve from the start. As for the question of whether I'd want to, I'd definitely say no. I wouldn't want to know the child's fate. I just think it's much more interesting to live when you don't know what's going to happen. Because if you know what's going to happen, you'll go crazy waiting for that event, waiting for something bad or good to happen. Well, if it's good, it's great, of course. But the very fact of living with the knowledge of when things will happen, it's just not very comfortable, I think, to live like that. So I definitely say no.
And last but not least, if you had unlimited access to technology, what would you improve or do differently in this film?
Now, technology has moved forward so much in just a couple of months that I'd probably work on the quality a bit. I mean, the quality of neural networks has improved significantly now, and all the models have been updated. But as for the script, the atmosphere, the concept, the idea, the moral, the message, I would leave everything exactly as it is. I'm very glad that someone liked it. It's probably the most pleasant thing that there's some feedback, especially such feedback from an international audience. That's what I wanted from the start. I tried not to make it in just one language, but to make a story understandable to absolutely everyone, and, so to speak, understandable in a universal way, meaning not to delve into some national ideas or things that are only understood in a specific country, but so that the idea as a whole is clear. In principle, I'm making the second film exactly the same way, in terms of being understood by everyone without knowing English, French, German, Spanish, and so on.
And once again, congratulations. This is a work that not only tells a story, but sparks a profound dialogue. We look forward to future projects.
Once again, I want to say a huge thank you to you for providing such a platform where authors like me can share their work with the audience and find some valuable feedback. I'm genuinely very interested to see what my AI colleagues are doing. There are just some truly incredible works out there. I think and hope that it'll only get cooler, more interesting, and there'll be even more opportunities, although even now you can already create very cool things while just sitting in your apartment. I hope that once I finish my new film, I'll definitely send it to your festival. Thank you very much, and goodbye once again.